the Arque Experience.
Hello, Arque.
Hello, Arque.
Hello, Arque.
Hello, Arque.
Hello, Arque.
Are you ready for your questions?
Yeah, I am indeed. Thank you.
Yes, I'm ready.
I am indeed.
I am ready.
Yes, fire away.
If you created a vegan ice cream, what flavour would it be? And what wild name would you give it?
Oh, I'm really rubbish at coming up with names and stuff like that. I would probably pick... I used to like mint choc chip before. And I would probably call it something really exciting, like vegan mint choc chip, I reckon.
Under the sea or up in the sky?
Up in the sky, because you have an overview of everything, including the sea, whereas if you're under the sea, you can't see the sky. Although it would be nice to swim with fishes, it'd be equally nice to fly with birds, I think.
What about backyard eggs?
Yeah, I think they're dangerous, especially under capitalism. I think they're very dangerous. I'd avoid them.
If you ruled the world, what would be the first thing that you changed?
Everything. I would, I'll change the values of the world. In vegan terms, the first question that we ask, this is a bit kind of anarchic really, but the first question we ask is something like, is this just? Is this right? Is this okay? Rather than, is this profitable? Because in the world we've got now, it's all to do with instrumental reason, using others as resources and instruments. I would change that. We don't want to see each other like that, but that is a product of our value. So I would change fundamental values. That's what I'd change.
Jumpers, cardigans, or tank tops?
Tank tops, but only recently. I used to hate them.
If you could invite 3 famous people to a vegan dinner party, who would they be?
I would only invite 2. It would be Gary Francione and Tom Regan, and I would talk to them about. I'll scold them for falling out with each other, and tell them how amazing they would be. How amazing the animal rights movement would have been if they had stuck together. They would have been a dream team with Reagan's personality, his gentleness, his ability to speak to people, and then with Gary's drive and brains. Not that Reagan didn't have brains, but his passion, Gary's passion and determination. Yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd counsel them over dinner, and I'd put lots of nooch on their food.
Schrodinger's cattle. Will they go extinct or take over the world if people stop eating them?
Yes, that's interesting. The answer's neither. The answer's neither, and the reason is because really all animals that we now have, that humans keep for food and breed for food, have come from wild ancestors, and in almost all cases, those ancestors are still living in the wild. So, in actual fact, they wouldn't go extinct because their ancestors would still be around, and in fact not breeding those cattle anymore would help to actually preserve their ancestors and allow their ancestors to thrive. And the reason for that is because so much harm to the planet is done by animal farming, that we remove that harm, and that will enable all animals living in the wild to thrive, including the ancestors of those animals we farm at the moment.
Have you ever swum naked in a lake?
I have not, so I've not got a very interesting answer for that question. No, I haven't.
After the ALF released 5,000 mink into the British countryside, what lessons do you think have been learned, if any?
Yes, well, the release of minks have been very controversial within the ALF for many years. The lesson really would possibly be release them into the compound and destroy the cages, and not release them into the environment, because the sad fact is that most of them stay around the farm. quite a lot of them get killed on the roads around because they're not used to traffic. In fact, the vehicles that they're used to, just crawl along usually. So they're just not used to traffic as we know it. And then if they do manage to spread elsewhere, then they find an environment full of free-living minks as well. So then they end up having to have fights with those and everything else. So possibly of all the ALF activities, the release of mink is the least well thought out in terms of its consequences. So I suppose the lesson is, bluntly, you could say don't do it, or do it in a different way.
If you were a different animal, what animal would you be?
I would love to be a pangolin. They've got really cool scales. They waddle around like this, and they roll around in the mud. I think they're really cute.
Do you think meat eating should be made illegal?
Well, first of all, I don't think meat eating is any worse than, or let's say flesh eating. Eating someone's flesh is any worse than, eating their secretions. So meat, dairy and eggs, it's all the same thing. It's all exploitation. Do I think it should be illegal? Yes, it should be illegal it should be illegal 100%, but not just meat, not just flesh, also anything that comes from an animal, honey, cheese, eggs, milk, all of it. Yeah.
Do you dream in colour?
I do dream in colour, although sometimes I dream without sound.
I think so. Yeah, I suppose it depends what era on, because there was a time when everything was black and white, wasn't there? I remember when I was a kid, everything was black and white. But no, I think I dream in colour. It's never occurred to me that I dream in black and white.
What was the last song that you listened to?
I was listening to it just before I spoke with you. So, Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits.
Have you ever crimped your hair?
I don't know whether it was crimped. I am in the 70s. I had very long hair. In fact, I could reach around the back and grab my hair when I was at school. And so one time I did have a curly perm, Mark Bolden style, but I'm not quite sure if that's really crimping, but it was perming, I suppose.
Do robots dream of electric sheep?
I think they do, but I think the more interesting question is, why do robots dream of electric sheep? What are they trying to learn about these electric sheep, and where do these electric sheep come from?
Is the Pope a Catholic?
What's a Catholic? Is the Pope a Catholic? Yeah, of course he is. Yeah. Is he going to go vegan? No, that was a stupid campaign.
Should we bring back lost species through genetic engineering?
No, I don't think so. I think what we should do is concentrating on ending the oppression of species that exist at the moment. I mean, animals. Animals begin to have rights, when they're actually created, and consideration for those animals arises from, when those animals are first created. I'd say, when they're first conceived. Say, so. What are we doing? What good does it do to other animals to bring back those lost species? All that is like a curiosity thing for humans. That's not done for the benefit of those animals. That is done for the benefit of humans, so we can kind of, have some kind of, get a G from the same way that people go to zoos and safari parks, isn't it? It's not for the benefit of the animals there. It's for, to give them, give them some kind of interest, give them another thing to kind of, perhaps waste their time on. And I think that's the same with bring back lost species, and it's not something that I'm enthusiastic for at all.
What do you have with pancakes?
What do I have with pancakes? Oh, I have them right. So with lemon juice and sugar, as they should be.
If you were a cloud, what sort of cloud would you be?
A cumulus, one of those fluffy ones. Is that what they're called? Cumulus nimbus. Nimbus? That one, the white fluffy one.
If you had a time machine, would you use it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Although I don't know where I'd go. That's a hard question. I'd go somewhere way in the past, I think. I think maybe no, I wouldn't shoot Hitler, but I'd do something. I'd do something cheeky. Maybe I'd be tampering with some evidence in some police station somewhere.
What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
Yes. Well, that's for when I'm looking for the Holy Grail. Well, I believe you've got to be a king to know that, and because I'm not a king, I don't really know. So I have to pass on that, I'm afraid.
What is your favourite activism?
My favourite form of activism? Well, that depends. My favourite form of activism to do, I have enjoyed the slightly more disruptive stuff I've done, but I do find it stresses me out quite a lot before I do it. But in the moment, it's normally quite exciting. I think maybe making a bit of noise outside someone's venue is my favourite to do. In terms of my favourite, as in most effective, I don't really know. I think they all have awful kind of different forms of activism, seem to have their own pros and cons and reach different people. But yeah, I do like making a bit of noise outside of whatever or whoever it is we're targeting. I think that tends to be quite fun.
Do you have a favourite football team?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Have you ever been to the opera?
Yes, I have. I've been to the opera quite a few times. Not for a while. Do you know what I think happened? I used to go to the theatre and opera and shows much more before the pandemic. I think I've got like PTSD from the pandemic. I hardly go out now, which is sad. Well, I do go out, but a lot less than I used to go out.
One slice of toast or two?
Oh, well, 3 usually. What I do when I have toast, you see, I usually in the morning I have muesli, and what I do is I make it up the night before, put me soy milk or oat milk on it, pop it in the fridge, and then in the morning, well, in the winter I heat it up a little bit in the microwave, so it's not really cold. In the summer I'll have it cold. That's my breakfast. Right? Sometimes if I kind of don't prepare that, I'm tired at night and think, I can't be bothered. I'll have toast, but what I do is I'll have a cup of tea. I'll have 3 bits of toast. I have Marmite or yeast extract on one of them. I have peanut butter on the second one, and I have tahini on the third one. So I have 3 slices. I'm greedy. I have 3.
Bees or wasps?
I mean, I do feel like wasps probably get an inordinate amount of dislike, but I will have to go with bees, just because I find them quite cute, to be honest. So, yeah, bees, I think.
Bees, absolutely bees. Especially bumblebees.
Who is your favourite musician or band?
It's Mark Bolan and T-Rex or Tyrannosaurus Rex in the early days, even John's Children in even the earlier days. And so I've always had a soft spot for T-Rex. If I had to analyse why, I'd have difficulty. It's just the vibe of it just suits me for some reason. I just love it, really.
What is your favourite colour?
Turquoise. Why? I don't know. It's like the sea and the sky. I've got it in all the different rooms at my house. A little bit of turquoise somewhere.
What are your thoughts on snails?
I think snails should be protected. I'll always move snails off the path. I think there is evidence that snails, that mollusks are sentient, so that they do have a degree of feeling. So I wouldn't want them to be harmed in any way, and I kind of do my best to move them from harm. One worrying thing I've noticed though, certainly where we live, is the reduction in the number of snails. I mean, often I'd come home at night and it would take me about half an hour to walk down the path to the house because of the number of snails and slugs there were. And now it's not like that at all. The numbers have very much diminished, and I don't know whether other people have experienced this, but it's very worrying what's caused that. Because that has a knock-on effect on other animals, like sort of birds and hedgehogs and all the creatures that kind of live on the snails and slugs. I have a lot of respect for snails, and I do try to, my utmost to avoid harming them.
Trees or flowers?
Ooh, trees, I think. Maybe I don't know if that's the popular or unpopular answer, but probably trees. I grew up with a massive oak tree in my garden, which I always loved having around. And yeah, I think they're particularly oak trees that, they might have been around for 700 years, 900, up to, more than 1,000, some of them. And each one of them is its own huge ecosystem for all of the animals living on it, which I think is quite amazing to think about. And just to think how long that tree predates us, how many people has that tree had wander past it in its time, I think. So yeah, I'd probably pick trees over flowers.
Do fools seldom differ?
Do fools seldom differ? Yeah, fools seldom differ. I can't really expand on that. Or no. I don't know. That's too abstract.
What was the last film you saw at the cinema?
Oh, give me a moment. It was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is very vegan, I would say. Go watch it.
Why do you think the UK government won't promote plant-based eating, considering how urgently we need a transition?
That's a question you could spend a while on. I think there's a lot of vested interests. I think the majority of the population aren't currently in support of it, and they just want to do whatever they can to get re-elected, rather than necessarily doing what would be ideal for policy. I think the people within our government and within the House of Commons themselves mostly want to continue eating animal products and would rather be selfish than protect our future. That's just a few things I could rattle off, but I'm sure there's innumerable reasons that they're corruptly avoiding protecting our future in favour of eating and abusing animals just because they want to.
Is there anything you would change about your past?
Well, that's actually a difficult question for me, in the sense that, I come from a pretty dysfunctional family, and, so I suppose my family relations have never been that good. I don't want to get into psychiatrist's chair mode here, but again, I'm not quite sure whether I would change that, in the sense that I don't believe in the ideology of the family either. But I suppose, my own relationship with my own children, for example, I would probably change things about that, if I'm honest. I've always been really involved so much with the movement. I suppose you could argue, and it would be true, that I've neglected other things. So I'd change that, but if I had to repeat it, I'd kind of still be as involved in the movement as I am now. So, yeah, as I said, it's not an easy question, that, for me.
If you could be a body of water, what would you be?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'd like to be a lake with a little island in the middle. I think that'd be cool. There's a secluded lake.
What is your favourite other than human animal?
I don't know if we should necessarily have favourites. Can we have favourites? I do have a favourite individual. Her name is Princess, and she lives at the Retreat Sanctuary run by Billy Thompson. She's the most beautiful creature I've ever met. She's so sweet, so loving. Yeah, I'm really privileged to have had hugs with her and spend time with her. So she's probably, apart from, I've said that she's my favourite individual, but I live with 3 cats as well. So, of course, George, Lenny and Slim are my favourites because they live here with me. Princess outside of this house. In terms of species, no.
Don't use the V word. What does the V word mean to you?
Well, the V word veganism. Well, veganism to me means it kind of means animal. It means animal liberation in the broadest sense of animals, because I think it means. I think it means opposition to all forms of oppression and to all forms of exploitation. And I think that also, if we kind of look at the history of veganism and kind of what the founders of the vegan movement intended, it means opposition to the oppression of humans, not just to other animals, and that's what it was kind of meant to be. But I think it's mainly the focus is on other animals, because if you look at oppression throughout the world, the vast majority of oppression in terms of numbers it is caused by humans against other animals, which I think quite rightly means that the focus of veganism should be on other animals. So veganism means animal liberation. Is animal liberation? It means anti-supremacism, anti-speciesism, anti-oppression, anti-exploitation.
Ah, but what about canines?
Oh, our favourite question. Well, I would say whether canines implied we naturally ate meat anyway, I don't think nature is a particularly good justification for what we should do now if we can avoid it. And I think the argument that canines are clear proof that we need to eat meat is quite weak. I was thinking yesterday about our nails and how they're only really ideal for like opening fruit, like bananas and oranges. So my response might be, but nails rather than claws, because I don't think they'd do much to rip open anyone's flesh. So,
What are you scared of?
I'm scared of a non-vegan world, possibly. I don't know. That's another difficult one. Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of things like dying. I think I'm more scared of things like the process of it, and if it's going to be long times of pain and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to have a half pass on that one as well. Another difficult question, that one.
What book are you reading now?
I'm currently reading Losing Eden by Lucy Jones. Have a quick scan of that, Arque.
Item scanned. Thank you, Jesse.
It's about why our minds need the wild and why we are happier when we're in nature. And it's got some really, really lovely, cool chapter titles like Mud Luscious and Puddle Wonderful. Very strange.
What is your favourite vegan cheese?
Well, I always think of vegan cheese in like different categories. So you've got the ones you can buy in the supermarket. In fact, when I first went vegan, I tried so many and they all went straight in the bin. And now I'm not even fussed if I don't have any vegan cheese for weeks and weeks and weeks. I can take it or leave it. But so you've got the cheese that you can buy in Tesco's, and then you've got the cheese that you can get in like these artisan places. You know, cheeses like I Am Not Okay, which they sell in like delis and health food shops, and it's much nicer, of course. Like cashew-based cheeses or homemade. Yeah.
Would you relocate a cellar spider in order to save your favourite house spider?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I think yes.
How many times have you been stranded on a desert island this year?
well, it is happening. I was thinking Vegan Island, radio, and it does seem to happen all the time. Vegans are always getting stuck on desert islands and not knowing what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to have to eat meat. Luckily, I might be one of the few vegans who hasn't ended up on a desert island yet this year. Maybe a couple of hypothetical desert islands I've been told I might be on, but I've not found myself stranded yet, so I've done okay.
How tall must you be to go on all the rides at a theme park?
Ooh. Maybe you have to be 1 metre and 20 centimetres? I don't know. Interesting. 1 metre 20, is that quite high? Yeah, or 1 metre 10. 1 metre. You have to be over a metre, for sure. I think.
What is the weirdest excuse for not being vegan that you have ever heard?
someone pointing at their teeth, perhaps, although that's quite common, isn't it? You get the teeth pointers. But we did have one bloke come up to the stall, and all he did was just shout B12. He shouted B12, and then just and then just walked off. I don't know whether he went round shouting the names of other vitamins, like going down the high street shouting niacin or something. I don't know, but but that was weird.
Have you ever played the lottery?
I haven't actually, no. It's another really boring one. No, I've always felt that I'd just be paying into someone else's pocket and getting nothing. But, you do have to be in it to win it. So if my friend buys a ticket and wins and I say, oh, I never bought one, I might still get a bit annoyed with myself for not just buying that one time. So, but yeah, no, I haven't bought one, and I probably don't plan to either.
What is the weirdest thing you found in your garden?
Well, I don't have a garden, but there's a kind of communal garden outside, and there's a palm tree in it. Is that weird? I actually would say nowadays things like the lack of insects and bees is the weirdest thing, in the sense that I remember as a kid, finding newts and frogs, and I always had a thing about bulrushes and stuff. And I think that the change in that sense, that we seem to have done so much damage to the environment, that we seem to have lost so much, and I think that's possibly the answer, and that's probably a bit more serious than you expected, but that's it.
What is your favourite tree?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I grew up around a lot of cherry trees and birch trees, so maybe I'll go for a cherry tree. Have a lot of good memories with those.
If Jesus saves, where do you think he shops?
I can't answer that. It's too weird.
If roses are red and violets are blue, what colour are thoughts?
What colour are thoughts? I don't know, really. I think they're probably different colours depending on what thought it is, to be honest. But I don't know what colour could be put to. I suppose you're thinking about protecting the environment. That'd be a green thought, wouldn't it? If you're angry, would that be a red thought? I don't know. But maybe they are. Maybe they are colours. It's not something I thought about in any colour, to be honest.
What do you think about eating insects?
I think that's completely unacceptable as well. We've got a perfectly good alternative to eating animals, which is eating plants. I don't know why, as humans, we feel so much desperation to find a way that we can continue to eat someone else who has a life and who has their own interests. Darwin actually wrote about actually did research himself on worms and the special qualities that they have, and he believed that they had intelligence. So I don't know why we're so addicted to this idea that we can only enjoy food if we need to harm someone for it. So no, I think it's completely unacceptable to eat insects. That's their only chance that they have at a life, the same way we do. So why not just eat plants who, to our knowledge, have no interests? They don't have experiences of the world.
What gets you up in the morning?
Well, I suppose people are going to be glib and say alarm clock or something, aren't they? There, but I suppose my driving force is the movement. Always has been. I always kind of tend to see the world through the lens of the animal movement. So that's it, really, in the sense that when I wake up, that's my first thoughts. Kind of what is it today that I'm doing within the movement. So yeah, it's this burdensome movement that I'm in. That's what gets me up in the morning and drives me to bed at night time.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I don't think my life would be very long if there was only one food. So it would have to be something that's got as much nutrients in it as possible. Quinoa, maybe, but it's got nothing green in it, has it? Broccoli? I don't know. I just think whatever it was, I wouldn't have a very long life. So, tofu? Who knows?
Have you ever stolen anything?
Oh no, I'm gonna never intentionally. Sometimes I've wandered out of a shop not realizing it. So like I don't know, I've picked up 2 newspapers and thought I'd only grab one. But no, though when I realise, I've wandered off with this, I do tend to think like result rather than, I've got to go back and give it back to them. So normally I'm not too worried about it if I have accidentally wandered off with something additional.
Do you have a favourite music genre?
No, but I really love music. I think I love... I get asked this all the time, being a music teacher. I like music that's good, so it could be a good, I'll look for an interesting texture, an exciting rhythm, or a memorable melody, or unusual timbres, but it could be from any genre, from, I don't know, rap to opera.
Christmas or solstice?
I don't know. In a sense, I think neither, because I think it's all connected with religion, and it's so therefore it's all bollocks. But yeah, I think it's okay for people to cheer themselves up. But it's just unfortunately what they're doing is, the main thing I'm concerned about is all the animals that are slaughtered for people to stuff down their throats at Christmas. That's the main thing I'm concerned about.
What is your favourite houseplant?
My favourite houseplant? Well, it keeps changing because I keep killing them all. But I've got one behind me, yucca. That's been doing okay for a while, but it does look a little bit droopy. But yeah, it's a constantly changing favourite houseplant because I keep finding a way to kill them. I think I've got one behind me there. I think it's called a Swiss cheese plant or something like that. I think that's probably not its actual name, but that's what it's sometimes referred to. That's gone on for a little while. Cactuses I can keep alive, cacti. So maybe then, because I have to do pretty much nothing with them.
That concludes the Arque Experience. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Arque. Wunderbar. All done.
Thank you, Arque. That was fun.
Thank you, Arque. We're done. Woo!
No, it's been a pleasure. They were good questions, actually, because they're different. I always get asked the same questions, and it's nice to have some different ones.